Very good afternoon. A few members have already requested that they would like their questions to be asked also, because they felt that the prepared questions would not be the ones which they would actually be interested much. So what I'll do is that around 45 minutes time, we'll give it to the questions which have already been planned across, so that we try to cover most of the issues in the GST law. In addition to that, we will also take up the questions which will come from the audience. And my panelists have been very kind enough to say that probably it will not be 1 hour. If the audience are willing to stay, we will extend it by another 15 minutes to 20 minutes also, so that we can have at least the thing. And I also thank the organizers on behalf of my speakers and myself for giving us the start time on time. I think it's very rarely that you get the programs to start off at 4:30 minutes. At 4:30 they have given it across, and 4:25 you have asked us to assemble here. Thank you very much for it. I think they deserve a good round of applause for giving us the time. GST law, it's been from 2017, and most of us have been through the process of the GST law. A very quick question to my panelist is, what is the fundamental difference? So I've got panelists which are a very good mix. One is from the central GST division, one is from the state GST division, one is a leading advocate who basically rips apart the law, and one is a leading chartered accountant who has also been part of the lawmaking process, that's Venkat. So we will have a mix of views. So there could be a possibility that my panelists may not agree with each other, but for starting off, there's one question which I think they all will agree, is to give one fundamental difference between the earlier law and the GST law. So I would request Dr. Murali Krishna to say the fundamental difference between the KVAT law and the GST law. I would request Mr. Narayan Swamy to give the difference between the original excise and service laws with GST law. And the basic fundamental as a professional, I would expect Venkat and Vaiteshwaran sir to give the opinion of what they feel is the fundamental difference. And wherever they feel that the panelists have given a view which they don't agree, you have the right to disagree. Thank you. Dr. Murali.
Very good evening, everybody. Very good evening. Let's be more interactive, man. So otherwise it will be more drying subject. Basically taxation, no one wants to get into that. Let us make it more lively. See, as moderator asked me about what's the basic difference between the VAT and the GST. I didn't find any much difference at all. Let me be very frank and candid. The major difference what we can say, we had an input tax credit in a VAT law. There is input tax credit in the GST law. Earlier it was only intrastate, now it is interstate. That's the big difference. And coming to burden of proof, what actually I see basically, Section 71 VAT Act, it was on the buyer side. Now in the GST we shifted to both the people, both the supplier and the buyer. You fight each other and get back to husband. That's another much basic difference what actually I can see, because the taxation we learned a lot in the past so many years, and finally he said when the technological interference is coming to get in, let us make the supplier and the buyer to the most co-responsible for this particular compliance. In that particular sense, the law has been drafted that you are all well aware of it. And for some reason, somewhere technological reasons, it didn't take off in a right perspective. In the days to come, that will going to happen, wherein the input tax credit mechanism is going to place in place. That will going to drive the GST. That's what I would like to say. Otherwise, always I say in a very common platforms and wherever it is, structurally if you look at an invoice, I didn't find much difference except changing the 11-digit TIN number to 15-digit GST number. Am I right? And we had it on place of supply, which was not there in earlier law, and which was required for claiming the input tax credit based because interstate transaction, and we link to that particular to the technology. That one has to understand that. Okay. Otherwise, I didn't. Another thing is, what tax you are collecting, there also you are collecting, no, whether more or less. But nomenclature has been changed. Instead of calling a VAT, we are calling SGST. We are calling a service tax as CGST. Without those four fundamental difference in invoices, no other structural alterations we have done in the invoice. Put it in a very common nutshell. Basically, the GST system drives on the invoice matching, input tax credit mechanism, and one thing which has taken a backseat, RCM. If it comes into the picture in the right perspective, then the GST will be in the better picture, which I can say. Thank you.
Mr. Vaiteshwaran, sir, before we go to Mr. Narayan Swamy.
Can I,
The fundamental difference between what you see.
can I
in
take a
GST
little bit time on this?
5 minutes max?
5 to 7 minutes max.
5 minutes, sir.
Because let me start with the positive things. Because the way the questions are later on, I'm sure we'll get into criticisms. But let's talk about something positive, very significant. His views purely from a administration perspective. I would present this view on the difference in 3 buckets. The legal bucket, the industry bucket, and the consumer bucket. That I would see as a major difference. If you look at the legal bucket, all professionals know, pre-GST, we were in what is known as entry-based taxation. Therefore, the state was kind of constrained in its power to levy tax only within entry 54. The center was constrained insofar as entry 97 is concerned in terms of its scope. Conflicts arose. Who can tax what? And then Supreme Court gave what is known as the aspect theory. The aspect theory is very simple. I manufacture this aspect, pay excise duty. I sell this mic. Even though I have manufactured, when you sell this mic, the selling aspect, please pay VAT. The mic has gone wrong. I have to repair it. The service aspect, please pay service tax. The mic goes from one state to another state. Entry aspect, please pay entry tax. So aspect theory was developed by the Supreme Court and legally, constitutionally well supported. Center and the state had their own share of taxation, which inevitable overlap led to all kinds of chaos, leading to the debate that we need GST. And that is how from an entry-based taxation, we moved to a article-based taxation. Article 246A is one single article which gives power to center and the state. In fact, I have gone on record in news, in newsprint and digital print to say that it is incorrect to say that state has lost powers. People were saying that state has no powers, it's all council decided, central has decided, state has to follow. Read Article 246A, state legislature is well empowered to implement GST in the way they want. They are, in their discipline, they are going with the council. That again, so many meetings of the council, I think 36 meetings, 38, 38 over, 38 meetings of 29 finance ministers, state and union together, and resolving on all matters unanimously, except the last one which was on vote. Everything else unanimously. Can you get this kind of unanimous resolution in your flat association? Imagine politically they may be different, but when it comes to GST, their thought process is the same.
No, is it because they don't understand?
Nothing like that. They are much more sharper. I don't agree on that. They're much more sharper than industry. I would support them on that. So from a legally, it's something brilliant which they've achieved. Now let's look at industry. Yes, invoice is the same, sale has become supply, etc. But what was industry doing? They were complying with some 13 tax laws, each with section, act, rules, notifications, circulars, separate dates for compliance. Effective indirect tax was nearly 36% if you combine all the cascading effect together. Industry had to open stock transfer depots just to ensure they sell locally to give VAT invoice. Business was opening depots for the sake of tax, not for business. GST changed it overnight. One concept supply, one concept interstate supply, IGST flow through. Therefore, industry has definitely gained. I won't say they have not gained. They may still crib. That is different because everybody cribs. In our country, we like to crib. So, if coronavirus is not fully come also, they'll crib. Oh, that ur it has come, my ur it has not come. So, it's our nature, I guess. Third bucket, consumer. Today, consumer awareness is at its peak. Before in pre-GST, consumer had no clue. If you tell him excise duty, he won't understand. He will say VAT to some extent, will understand. Today, he takes a photo, selfie with the photo, with the invoice, and saying, restaurant fellow is charging me 12, as per GO number so and so, it is only 5. He is excessively collecting from me. One fellow goes and eats bananas and posts one photograph, saying they are charging tax on bananas. Awareness is at its peak. Today, every consumer is a GST expert. But from a consumer perspective, he is confident that the rate of tax throughout the country is the same. What an achievement for a country like us. US does not have VAT. If you bring VAT in US, you'll have civil war. To get 29 states to join together, I think it's a phenomenal achievement. So 3 buckets constitutionally, industry and consumer, it's very different.
Sir, basically I see that the department virus has come to you from the coronavirus. Mr. Narayan Swamy?
Good afternoon to all of you. You have listened to one tax administrator, another advocate. We tax administrators generally look at things in a very straight manner and see where is the loophole, where is the collection, these are the things. As an advocate, obviously, will have much more experience and you speak from all angles. It's a very right question to start with so that we can proceed further. In my opinion, I totally agree with Mr. Vaithiswaran, whatever he stated. In fact, in GST Council, as he said in the last 38 GST Council meetings, it is so amazing, even though people from different political background, opposition and ruling, various background, when they come, it is not that they don't understand. In fact, it's so amazing when they speak with so much of authority and so much of concern, and they fight for the safeguarding the interest of their own state and their own people. Not only that, they are very diplomatic too. In fact, when they address Mr. Jaitley, they are very, very courteous. They may be from the opposition. And at this moment, I would like to remember late Jaitley. He had such a great respect from every member of the GST Council. There may be a lot of debates, but when he starts speaking, people used to accept and respond. Except on one issue, that is rate of tax on lottery. All other issues have been dealt unanimously without any voting. It's a big hope and credit for India, because there are talks saying that we have to replicate this GST Council in many other areas, like sharing the water and many things, agriculture. It's a great example set for state and center relations. I mean, that is a byproduct of GST. The question is, what is the difference between earlier taxation and present taxation? In my opinion, we were dealing with the central tax and the service tax. As far as the service tax was concerned, it was one tax, one nation already, because there was no barrier. What has been brought in is the goods. All the checkposts have gone. So that has also become all India. But the main difference, in my opinion, between the previous and the present system is, and the present system, that is GST, is a dream of every Indian for last 20-30 years. It is not that it is only either businessman or consumer wanted. Everyone wanted the GST. But in what form, how, was a different question. So we are all very happy that GST has come. But the main difference between earlier system and the present system, in my opinion, is earlier everything was in two-dimensional way. That is the policy, laws, tax administrators, and the taxpayers. But today, there is another angle called GST network. So now it has become three-dimensional. That may be the reason that we are trying to adjust it to the new system. In fact, in my opinion, GSTN, once it stabilizes, it is supposed to play a major role, in the sense more than 90% of the taxpayers are required to deal only with the GSTN. They are supposed to file returns, they are supposed to get the whatever they have to deal with the system or the government. They can only deal with the GST network, and that can stop there. Only small percentage of people, we may have to deal with them as tax authorities. More number of people deal with GSTN, that is good for the country. That means everything gets stabilized. In that context, I feel all the tax practitioners, CS, will have a major role to play. The difficulties, whatever you have faced, maybe we will take it up in course of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Venkat, Mr. Vaiteshwaran spoke about the three buckets. The fourth bucket also I want you to speak about is the impact on the professionals.
Chairman, senior officers from the Government Commissioner and Additional Commissioner, my good friend Vaiteshwaran, some of my old friends who are sitting here. We heard some good things from all of them here. The fundamental difference, according to me, between VAT and GST is when I had an issue with VAT, I had a commissioner with whom I could go and fight. Now I don't have anybody. There is nobody. What the council understands and what it delivers are two different things. I'll give 2-3 examples for that before I close. So, virtually it is faceless. It is faceless. I have nobody to go and cry. Only sheets and reams of paper I will have to write. We don't even know whether it is looked at. 1. 2. The old laws, as Vaiteshwaran sir dealt with, was tax on manufacture, tax on sale, tax on service. So the whole concept is gone. It is now tax on supply. Literally, supply includes everything other than what is exempt. As simple as that. So the difference is everything is taxable other than what is notified as exempt. This is the second difference. The thin line, the good thing about GST law is the multi-point taxation, multiple taxation, let me put it that way, on goods and services, which both were living, hotel, software, etc. That fine line is gone in GST. That fine line is gone in GST. The government tells you, I will tell you what is goods and I will tell you what is service. My commissioner was talking about lottery. We have been representing about this racing for 3 years now. No decision is taken. Actionable claim is notified as goods, but taxed as service. So we have nobody to go and cry. Only courts will have to come to our rescue. This is the problem with GST, right? I always tell many of my friends here, I also told Dr. Murali Krishna here, the day GST came in, I think we shared the same dais. I told on that day that this is not the GST that we expected. You are seeing the merrymaking after 3 years. This is not the GST that the country needs. I think we need a far more mature law. Some of the largest litigations we are going to fight in GST will be on the supply itself, whether it is going to be a plain and simple vanilla supply or it is going to be a composite or mixed supply. Nobody has answers. Nobody has answers. There are enough clarifications and circulars have come which have actually messed it up further. This is the difference between GST and VAT. If my commissioner in VAT law issued a wrong circular, I could go and cry with my additional commissioner and tell him, what have you done? A rectification will come or somehow it will be handled. But here nothing will be handled. We will only have to go to courts. That is why courts are flooded with all these writ petitions. You are going to see larger writ petitions going to go to court over the next few days. I have never seen a legislation in my career spanning 37 years which is notification driven. Let these commissioners come and tell me it is not. The single largest business in the country today is notification driven. Works contracts. Look at the number of provisos you have in that one single notification. We have 14 provisos. It is charge, it is levy, it is collection, it is payment for the single largest business. Can't we have a legislation? You want notifications to drive the taxes and businesses? This is the difference between GST and the other legislations. I have never seen a legislation which is more cumbersome than a GST legislation. It is absolutely cumbersome. Just before we entered this session, Sanjay was asking about the cost of compliance. I was happy to be doing GST when VAT was at its peak. I said compliance costs will come down by at least 0.25 to 0.75% in respect of large businesses. But 2.5 years later, I must tell you, sir, my compliance costs today are nothing less than 3% for large businesses. If this is where GST is driving us, I don't think this is the GST law that we require. We need this to be refined, we need this to be modified, we need this to be business friendly. Thank you so much.
Venkat, you could stay on there. You said that it's a law which is driven by notifications. I think there have been 131 circulars, 85 notifications which are other than tax-based, and 60 notifications which are on tax rate of tax. So this is one area where I think, yeah. So what do you feel? How does a professional actually upgrade himself to all these notifications in rate? I think this is a question which most of us have today, that in the GST law there are so many changes happening. And most of us are into a part-time practice of GST. Let us be honest about it. So in that case, how do we upgrade ourselves on the notifications, rate of taxes, circulars, and then the clarifications on the same?
Before I answer that question, I want the officers of the government to carry this message to whatever level they can. Sir, we don't want a notification for cab services with driver, without driver, with fuel, without fuel, 1,300 cc, 1,000. We don't want. You want 18%, you take it. Don't say 5% forward charge, 12% reverse charge. Don't say he's paying this. We don't need it. We don't need your mercies. We want it to be simplified. We want it to be simplified. Now, that is notification driven. You see the number of notifications that have come. A fellow who was paying forward charge has become reverse charge overnight. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows why. And we have a good law of GST here, right? Now consider what Sanjay was saying. We have something like 65 notifications which drives the rates. We are already having a schedule. Why don't you put it there? Why do you want notifications? My additional commissioner will remember the way I fought for VAT law when rate notifications would come under VAT law. Let him say no, let me see. We have fought for it, saying we have a schedule, put it there. You want the tax, take it. Make it simple. Make it simple. Now, the confusion is not in the notification. The confusion is in the way the notification is drafted. Because the man who is drafting the notification has no idea of how businesses are carried on. Otherwise, there will be no forward charge, no reverse charge, no with fuel, without driver, driver with uniform, driver without uniform will not be there. It will not be there. Now, the difficulty is not that. The difficulty is in administering this. Difficulty is in administering this. Sir, you forget what you are going to do. I have to classify it and give it to you. It is not going to be easy. Take a company like Infosys, take a company like GE. If I have to have these kind of classifications, what are my fellow colleagues here who are going to do? They will only be doing this job. They are not going to concentrate on law. They are not going to concentrate on law. Is this the GST that we want? This is not the GST that we want. You look at the number of clarifications that have come. I have to hang my head in shame to tell you that the clarification which came on primary discounts, secondary sales discounts, Vaitishwaran sir, was ab initio withdrawn. Because I have lectured enough on these forums to say, I have never heard anything in my lifetime called financial credit note. I have never heard, and we have a clarification on that. A credit note is a credit note. There can be no financial credit note. I don't understand what is this clarification. Now they have ab initio dropped. Look at the people who have issued those credit notes. What will my commissioner, Mr. Narayan Swamy, who is sitting here tomorrow if he becomes the audit officer? I have to only beg and plead with him. He will say, you issued the clarification, I followed it, you ab initio withdrew it with retrospective effect. He will say, my hands are tied. I have to only pity. Now this is the condition in which we are. That is why I said, somebody who is drafting has to sit in business. Then they will know how to write the law. That is the difficulty.
Okay, thank you, Venkat. A quick reaction from Dr. Murli on the notification. Dr. Murli, then Mr. Vaitishwaran. Dr. Murli? No, on this amendments, how do you keep a track of it?
See, if you ask me, why so many notifications, why clarifications, and a lot of, because of an ambiguity and many people, when they're represented and the council and the law committee, see, as you said, the only council will not take decision just de facto. There are people, they work backward, they understand, they may understand, they may not understand, as you say. But just to meet the aspirations of that particular business and whatever the issues, the clarifications are coming to then and now and then. It's not that it is issued, see, if it is issued without any, this one, certainly that will be get rectified, that rectification is happening. And coming to notifications, how to remember and all that. See, I can share my personal with him on many counts. But as an official capacity, yes, we should have restricted much of the notifications here and there. Not that notification should have been issued like that. As he said in a VAT law, we had our schedule 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. We could have enumerated everything, and then which is not there, could have put it in a different schedule, and we could have notified that, we could have remembered. We are used to that particular kind of earlier erstwhile law. Okay. Now the question is, yes, things are changing. I think things may change also in future. It's not that we're going to stay just like that. Only you have to expect how to cope up with that. Further, just because I'm I'm holding a charge of Additional Commission e-governance, technology driven. See, if you depend upon technology, nothing is difficult. I'm telling you honestly, there's no need to read the notifications, rather I can tell. Let me come back. I can understand that enough notifications are there. You can give a link and hyperlink and all that. We are working on that. In fact, if you just go back to gst.co.nac.in, everything we uploaded, we are working on the back end to say that how to make it further simplification. Technology can do that, not that it cannot do that. That's what my opinion. But for a commoner who doesn't have the technological background to understand, it may be a little more difficult to go through the manual notifications, and if any problem in that technology, they can go back to that notification, they can refer back and they come back. But to read and understand, technology can certainly help. That's what my experience I can say.
Thank you, Dr. Murli. Before going to Mr. Vaiteshwaran, is it a fact? No, you can give the mic to him, sir. Is it a belief that the government is listening to the trade bodies, and that is the reason the notifications are coming? It is actually to simplify, but a few of us feel that it is only complicating issues. Mr. Vaiteshwaran could take this point also into your answer.
Yeah. Firstly, it's very interesting to note my good friend Venkatramani speaking pro-SSC for the first time. I've heard him all the time saying everything is taxable, no exemption, no ITC, pro-revenue. So I think my first positive outburst had made him change his thought process completely today.
No, I think he's done that because you spoke pro-department.
Exactly. I spoke pro-country. Now, he's right. It is just not 25 or 30. Let me give you some statistics just for your sake. There are 240 CGST notifications, 107 CGST rate notifications. Now, where does the problem come? The problem comes in the legislation. The legislation decided to delegate the power to fix the rates to the government. Of course, on the recommendation of the council. Now, the moment you delegate that power, it must have been exercised a little more cautiously and responsibly. If you take the central excise, rate notifications were always done during budget because it was through the Central Excise Tariff Act. As Venkatramani rightly said, in VAT it was always part of a schedule. For service tax it was legislation based, an effective date notification. The moment you gave this power, rate of tax notification came. Now in rate of tax notification also is nothing wrong so long as you tamper with it and tinker with it with some time gap. Now who is to be blamed? One way to say government keeps on changing. Government says we are only responding, we are only reacting. So again, let me tell you, it is not the chamber which has asked for many of these changes. It is the professionals who have gone for these changes. Primary discount, secondary discount was not flagged by industry. Primary discount and secondary discount was flagged by professionals. And therefore government gave that circular. And then they realized that that circular went contrary to at least 3 Supreme Court judgments. and therefore they decided to withdraw that circular. In all respects, it is a correct decision. They have rectified it, at least course correction is done. In a way, yes. For example, take hotels. Government panicked when everybody said hotels are getting costlier compared to VAT. Immediate response, will make it 5%. No ITC. Now that is completely defeating GST. Completely defeating GST because you have gone back on the principles of cascading effect. Your constitutional object says we have to eliminate cascading effects. We have gone back. But it was political to some extent. Consumer was happy. But can the same logic apply to real estate? In hotel, that fellow does not have cost. He has vegetables, fruits, meat, poultry, egg, which don't have GST. He has GST only on rent, on few vegetable oils. Therefore, for him, ITC was not a very big issue, at least small and middle level hotels. But for real estate with cement at 28%, ITC becomes an issue. So you can't apply the same logic for hotels into real estate on the same premise that 5% is fine without ITC. So this without ITC concept itself has defeated GST. If you're really going about it, bring a lower rate with ITC or give an option at least if you still have to continue the system. So somewhere we have lost the design by bringing this concept of without ITC and bringing conditions. In fact, notification, somebody was saying how to remember. You should learn first how to read. Why remember? In exercise of the powers conferred by section 5. Okay, section 5. Read with section 11. Oh, I have to read 11 also. Read with section 16. Oh, that also I'll read. Read with section 148. Okay, 4 sections I'll read. In supersession of notification number so and so, so and so. Oh, that also I'll bring. In partial modification of notification so and so, so and so. In para number 3, 6th line, where is the printout to find out 6th line? We are in e-governance era. The e-notification is not the 6th line which you will see. So most of us are professionals, we are able to guess what the amendment is. But if you really speak, you are supposed to take the printed official gazette copy and then look at the 6th line. I think we need to change this English. Okay, and probably this comes from legacy. We have been ruled by the British for many years. Some years back, I was in London, holidaying. I was in the metro station, waiting for the train to come. And general Indian curiosity, anything like a notice board or something, you read. Okay, it is our habit. So I started reading the notice board in the railway station. There was a notification saying, in exercise of powers under so-and-so, read with so-and-so, so-and-so, in partial modification of commissioner's order dated so-and-so, so-and-so, on Thursday, 4 to 7 p.m., train will not come. That is the problem.
Can we move our train further? Okay, there are two questions which I think most of the audience would love to know. Number one, the transitional credit, there are recent judgments which says that you can claim it with a few high courts. Now, is this applicable only for those states where the high court judgments have come, or whether it is applicable across the country for all the dealers, because there's no negative judgment against the transitional credit? Point number one. Point number two, there was an amendment to the GST law which said that the the interest is going to be charged on the net amount, which is prospective or retrospective. These are the two areas where most of my members, I'm sure, have a doubt whether in Karnataka it is going to be prospective or retrospective and transitional credit. Venkat could speak, and then I would require Mr. Narayan Swamy to put on his views of how the government is considering these two orders.
Before I get to this question, my additional commissioner was sitting here. There can be no other exponent on works contract than Dr. Murali Krishna. You must have done, what, 1,000 plus assessments, if I'm right? And some of the finest orders you would have seen from him. Now, you must see how he proceeds. He knows he has to get 5% tax, roughly, or 4%, or 3%, whatever. He has to get that. The difference is input because that much output should be there. That is the experience, that is how it has gone. Now fundamentally, as Vaitishwaran sir said, when you have knocked off the input, which is average 10 to 11% input tax credit, how can the price of real estate come down? It can't. Somebody has lost their balance in thinking, saying if you don't give input, keep output at 5%, price of land and building will come down. Fundamental flaw in thinking. This is the problem. Anyway, one. Now let's get back to our issue. In so far as interest is concerned, it is something like saying that I don't have 5 rupees to pay net tax. I don't have. Net tax is 5 rupees. I don't have that money to pay. Or I have not paid for whatever reason. No, no. This 5 also you pay. But interest you pay on 100. How is it possible? It is not possible. This issue has been there before the GST Council. My additional commissioner tells me it is the 37th meeting. What is the council doing? What is the council doing? The government says 46,000 crore interest has to come. Not even 1 rupee will come if they amend this law. Not even 1 rupee will come. Look at the number of notices that are being sent. Hundreds of notices are coming for gross amount, net with gross, gross plus net with tax, without tax, all kinds of notices are coming. Now, if you have to sit and reply to this notice, nobody is going to pay you fees, my dear professional friends, because you have filed your returns. Nobody is going to pay you fees. This is the problem. This is the problem. Right? So you have to write replies, you have to go and convince the officer saying this is how it is. He will say, what can I do? Council has not taken decision. But I understand, I don't know that because of these high court decisions and all that courts coming heavily on the government, I think there should be a retrospective amendment to interest on net tax coming in shortly. It should come. If it doesn't come, then I think something is wrong with the think tank of the government. We will have to go after it. And I'm positive we will succeed. I'm confident we will succeed. They're just creating a litigation for the sake of creating a litigation. This is one, insofar as interest is concerned. The second issue was, Sanjay? Yes, transitional credits. Transition credit is a vested right. Courts have already said wherever there are technical glitches, GSTN not working, screenshot given, etc., fine, you go ahead and take it. There are hundreds of people who have not even taken credit. Sir, I must tell you, in service tax, there are some people who have ticked refund there. Neither have they got refund, nor have they got transition credit here. This is the problem. So you can't take away a credit which a man is entitled to. You are only going to file litigation. This also, I am told, is likely to be addressed by giving one final window, because courts have said you file within 30 days, Madras to decide within 45 days, Gujarat to decide within 30 days, etc. So this can't go on. Somebody will be filing writ petition in each state every single day. So I think it in the wisdom of the government, if they are going to extend this transition credit of 17-18 by at least 30 days, say till April, saying it is one final opportunity, I think a lot of credits or a lot of litigation will get resolved. Interest, in my view, I think the government has to step back and say it will be on net tax and not on gross.
Thank you, Venkat. Before Mr. Narayan Swamy answers this, I would just like to request you that last time we had the same panel discussion a year back, and we had an issue on composition on works contract, where it was going to be a flat rate and it was not optional. And in that discussion, we had told Nagendra Kumar sir, and he was kind enough to put it across to the council, and within 4 days, the notification said that it would be optional. I think this is one area where we would also request you on behalf of all our members that if this could be put across, because tomorrow there is a meeting, I presume, so that's why Mr. Nagendra Kumar and Mr. Srikar are not here. So if you could put across these 2 points to say that at least when the government knows that the High Court is not in favor of them, at least make an amendment which is retrospective and clarify things so that people like Mr. Vaiteshwaran make less money in litigation. Interest and transitional credit.
If the moderator permits me, I would like to respond to 3 aspects. One is Mr. Venkatraman spoke about the kind of notifications and clarifications and so many amendments done. And facelessness of the whole system, I think I must tell you this. In a reforms of this magnitude, which is happening all over India, we are not only culturally, racially diverse, even economically we are diverse. The kind of activity takes place one state may not take place another state. And the governments will have to accommodate all these things. In the process, lot many things, they wanted to respond immediately, so some few things would have come up. As Mr. Dhariwal said, it's not so faceless in every respect. In fact, my batchmates are there in the GST Council, in the Tax Research Unit. Mr. Nagendra Kumar sir is also one of the draftsmen in the Law Committee. I think Mr. Venkatraman was there. For the first time, kindly recognized many experts were involved in drafting the GST law, and GST law was available on public domain for a long time. So let us give the credit wherever that is due. And we have learned a lot in the last 2.5 years, and a lot of things are going to be rectified. So we are available, whatever the difficulties are there, if it is returned to us, we will immediately send it to Delhi. And these aspects can be taken up with the state government too, because there will be one member from each state in the GST Council meeting. We will certainly try to address these things. As far as the transitional credit is concerned, this has been already seized off by the government. Now up to 31st March 2020, there is a opening whenever the glitches are there. Secondly, regarding the interest on total liability, you see, the way government would have looked at and the people who are drafting the law would have looked at is, they didn't want any distinction between ITC and the cash. Once it is a tax, tax is a tax. Whatever the form you pay, that is a tax. So that is how the law was made out, and as part of it was to bring compliance. They would have drafted this law. In any case, because of several High Court decisions, in fact, during the visit of Finance Minister recently, this issue was raised by the trade, and she has taken note of it. They have also said we will take a decision on this. I am sure that is already matter has been.
So request you to use your good officers on behalf of the trade and the industry and the professionals to put in a word that this is a matter of serious concern for us, because litigation is something not the department wants, nor we want, only the advocates want.
No, certainly. Today evening itself, I will convey to my batchmates as well as to my boss, Mr. T.P. Nagendra Kumar. We will sensitize them. That is very important. I can assure you.
I've been a little rude to Mr. Vaiteshwaran, so I would request his response. Anti Sanjay also.
This is my 30th year of practice, and many of you know me, and many here are my students, which I had a privilege to recognize in the afternoon. And they know my style of working, and they know my thought process, and I'm sure I haven't changed the last 30 years. I am not very keen on this litigation. I would love to interpret what is goods versus service. I would love to interpret the scope of Article 279A. I would love 246A scope. I am not keen to rush to the court and say bank has been attached, please release the bank. Of course, I give relief to my client. I try my best to relieve to my client. But this is not the best of, I feel sad for some of the clients. When client comes and says that his bank has been attached, he is not able to operate because of interest, and I have to tell him that it will take at least 4 days for the matter to come to the court. In Karnataka, it takes a week because only the tax sitting happens only on Tuesdays. Therefore, if every court has got a different process, in that time your business is finished. You understand the impact for a business. It's very easy to attach the bank, third party. Not only that, there are emails sent to every vendor, garnishee proceedings. I have issued notice against him, pay. So this is, in my view, with due respect, tax terrorism. No notice, no show cause, no adjudication, straight to bank. It's somewhere unfair. And that is why probably the high courts were also a little more stiffer in their reaction when they talked about it. For high-handedness, simple. So because the interest, and let's look at the issue. Central excise was there for many years. Interest was not on this because excise understood PLA, excise understood SENVAT. VAT was there for so many years. They also understood ITC. This was a new interpretation because what was not said in the law was there in the portal. You cannot upload your return unless the tax is paid. And when you do that set off, then only the cash payment is done, your return gets uploaded. This is nowhere there in the Act. Therefore, it is something like notwithstanding anything contained in the Act, portal shall prevail. Now, because of the portal, it created a problem. People could not genuinely file their returns for 2-3 months. There are people who have deliberately kept tax. I have no sympathy for them. But there are people who had cash flows for 2 months, could not file. Then they cannot file the third month unless they file those 2 months returns. It's a pile up. And then the interest runs into crores when the tax is very less. So 50, this interest itself was a non-issue which went across. And finally, we had the amendment. The proviso was inserted. But the proviso was not yet notified. Why it was not notified? This is going to be the future problem for the entire country in GST. Today we are aligned. The legislation is aligned. Definitions are aligned. Principles are aligned. Consideration is the same. Supply is the same. Tax is just equal. Therefore, if you amend CGST Act, 29 states have to amend their SGST Acts. Only when all the states amend their SGST Acts or issue ordinances, you can straight away issue an effective date notification. Which is why, right from 2018, effective dates have been delayed. Finance Act 2018 got delayed by so many days and many amendments were not yet notified. 1/2/2020. Finance Act 2019, many provisions not yet notified. Now, latest Finance Bill 2020, again you'll have the same problem. Because every state has to amend. We are now aligned in that kind of format. Except for commonalities where it is easy to notify, it is not possible to notify. 50 is that kind. It is stuck there. Therefore, probably a notification which says with effect from 1/7/17 will once for all settle this issue. Now, coming to the legality, since I am a lawyer, I have to give you the legality. This matter has been settled years ago by the Supreme Court in the case of Eicher Motors, where they said that mod VAT credit is tax paid. Therefore, if I have GST credit, it is tax paid. Where is the question of interest on tax paid? Second, no, government has lost revenue. How has government lost revenue? Supplier has already paid the tax to the government. You have already collected the money. Interest is always compensatory. If you have loss, collect interest. Where is the loss when your supplier has paid tax? If the supplier is a fraud, fake invoice, finish the assessing. No problem. But when major companies were well-known companies, you can't say that, I have not collected the tax. So tax has been collected. It is not compensatory. Courts have also looked at Article 300 and given decisions, etc. This is Section 50. Now coming to transition. I think somewhere, I won't blame the minister or the council or anybody. Somewhere at the next level, there is this thought process. Maybe assessee is taking advantage of transition. What is transition? Over so many years, you had a law. Under that law, I had some rights. Under that law, I had some assets. It is an asset as per accounting parlance. Mod VAT credit is an asset. Senvar credit is an asset. VAT is an asset. These are book balances which I have. You have suddenly changed the law. What do I do with that? Please give me my money. Mera paisa de do. It should have come smoothly. Section says so. Rule, form, column. I know clients who have filled up the wrong column. Tran 1 application, they filled up the wrong column and therefore show cause notice order saying you are not entitled to. Now that is just a procedural requirement. That is what court is saying. Don't look at too much of procedure. It is after all his money, his right, Article 300, give it to him. Then there are cases where it is tedious. The other fellow has directed TDS. TDS is tax paid as per Sannyasi Rao Supreme Court. I should get that tax. But then the officer says, no, that assessment will go on, we'll give you refund. Then Justice Ram Subramanian in AP High Court, in Telangana High Court said that give a purposive interpretation of 140. Once you are clear that you have to give him refund, give it in Tran itself. No, why?